Hello, in this video we will see how we can use the functions in C language. So before we start with the technical details of the function, first of all we need to understand what is the meaning of the function. So first of all we'll see what function is. So if we look at this diagram, this image, this is the image of MCB, which is the main circuit breaker. So the function of this particular device is to perform a task to break the circuit. Whenever the voltage fluctuation is there, then the power supply will be break down. If we look at this device, this is a basically traditional telephone, and the function of this device is to make the call. Accordingly, it's a petrol dispensing unit. The purpose of this device is to dispense or to provide the petrol to some automobile equipments. And this is also, so far we have seen the devices which are related with the hardware. Software also can work as a function. For example, this is the symbol for WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a software whose function is to establish the communication, the basis of text, voice or video. And nowadays it is going to be it is a very popular software whose function is to create some kind of small videos. So now you might have got the idea what is the meaning of function. Function means some behavior exhibited by some hardware or some software, some specific behavior. So that is known as the function associated with that particular device or a software or a module. So now we can define the function as the behavior which a particular entity exhibits. That means that entity could be some software, or that entity could be some hardware, or in the form of some machine. But the behavior exhibited by a particular entity is known as the function associated with that particular machine or that body. So the function is of two types. As far as any programming language is concerned, we can broadly categorize the function into two categories. First category is known as the inbuilt function, which are defined inside the environment of that programming language. For example, in context of C language, printf function, getch function, and these functions are defined inside the header file. That's why if we want to use any function, then prior to that we have to include their respective header file for their successful execution. Otherwise, then error like function prototype not found may come in the program. Second category of the function is user defined function. Sometime we are not satisfied, or we define the function which should behave, which should work, which should function as per our own requirement. So such kind of function which are not defined in the environment, and we want to define them as per our own wish, as per our own desire, such kind of functions are known as user defined function. For example, I want to define a function who can calculate factorial value of a given number. So that number will be given as an input, some number will be given as an input, then that number will be processed, and later on it can be used to return the factorial value. So far there is no function with the name factorial or such behavior in the existing list of inbuilt functions. Therefore, there is a need to define the function as per our own desire. So such kind of functions are known as user defined functions. We'll discuss in detail about user defined function in this video. So when we design user defined function, broadly it undergoes three major steps. One is function declaration, which will be done before the main function. Second is function definition, where function definition in layman terms we can understand it like where the functionality of the function exists, means the action to be done by that function is exists. That particular segment is known as function definition. And the last one is function calling. After we have declared the function, we have defined the functionality, but until unless we call that function will not exhibit its behavior, function will not perform its intended task. So that is known as the function calling. When we call the function will perform its behavior as per our definition. So let's see the syntax, how we can declare a user defined function. So the general syntax of a user defined function is data type, function name, then data type 1, variable 1, data type 2, variable 2, and so on. So in this particular syntax, this segment is known as return type. That means the value which will be returned by the function after its complete execution, the type of the value which will be returned by the function after its successful execution, that is known as return type. Return data type basically we are talking about. These are this data type 1, variable 1, data type 2, variable 2, and so on. These are known as arguments or the parameters, means the values which we will provide to the function for its execution. Function performs its processing, and later on this value, this data type value, will be returned by the function as a result of the execution. So in order to better understand, let's take one example. This is a coffee dispenser. So in this dispenser, if you see this fluid, this water is an input. This machine performs the processing, and from here we'll get some output. So this input is known as, the context of the programming, it is known as the argument, and this processing will be done by this is known as function definition segment, and this output, it is the return type which we mention here. Definitely some value will be returned, but we are concerned about which type of value is to be returned by the function. We'll see in a practical example, then it will be more clear to you. But for this point of time, we can understand the function needs some input, it does some kind of processing, and it will generate some output. This return data type of the, for example, if I am adding two numbers, then the addition of say I'm adding two integer type number, then addition of those two integer numbers will be the integer. So in this case, the data type, return data type, will be int. Okay, and arguments will also be the integer values. In case I am calculating the area of the circle, and I am passing the argument as the radius of the circle, and since the circle of area of the circle is pi r square, so it could be the fractional value. That's why my return data type will become float or double. So as per the processing, whatever we have defined, we will mention the return data type. So hope you are getting this. So let's take one example. This is a small program in C language with very brief introduction about one user defined function. So now we'll see how the three segments, function declaration, function calling, and function definition, will be used in a program. Function declaration, we have declared the function. Remember, when we declare the function, we'll put semicolon in the last. So this int is the data type. Return data type means the type of value which will be returned by this function. The sum is the name of the function, and two values for which we want to calculate the sum, we are passing to this function as a parameter, int x and int y. That means there is a machine with the name sum, in which we will input two values, two numbers, x and y. It will do some kind of processing, and in return it will give some integer type value. That's whole that is the whole story. Now we'll see void main. We have declared three variables, a, b, and c. A equal to 5, b equal to 10, and c equals to sum a comma b. These a and b means 5 and 10 will be passed to this function sum. Since the sum of integer is also integer, that's why we have taken the data type as in which the value returned by the function will be stored as integer, and here you can see that return type is also int. So whatever the value returned by this function sum in C, will print that, and the function is, then the program is over. Now what this sum will do. So after the main function closes, we can define the function. Okay, function definition means what the function actually do with the inputs and how to generate the output. So we'll take one integer z. In int x and int y, the values are already being passed, values are already coming as we have passed from here. Now int z, z equal to x plus y, and this sum will be returned. Now the question is where it will return. So this particular segment is known as function calling. When we call the function, this printf line will not execute. First of all, the control will go to see what the function sum is. It will come here with these two values a and b. A will be passed to x and b will be passed to y. That means now x is 5 and y is 10. Their sum will be calculated in z and return z. Means from where you have been called, return to that point. So this, after this return, it will again go back to c with the calculated value of the sum, that is in z. So this z value will be assigned to c, and afterwards this next line will execute. So that's how this entire processing will be done. So now in the we will see also its execution in C language, so that it will be more clear to you. So now we'll see the execution. So if you look at this program, I've written the same code here. I've included the header file, and this is the function declaration segment. I declare the function with the name sum with two arguments or parameter, means the value which I want to pass to the function. Then this is the function calling, and here the function definition is. So when we execute, it should show me the output as 15. Yes, it's coming. That means my program is running. Now we'll see the step-by-step execution. First of all, the computer reads this line and clears the screen, then a and b value will be assigned. Now when we call the function, then it will not execute the printf, it will directly jump to this user defined function, and then it will perform the sum of the value which we have passed, that is x and y, in z, and then it will return. After return, it will again go back to the previous stage, and then it will, whatever the value it has returned to c, that will be printed in the next line, and we got the output. So that's how we can execute the function. So hope you have got the idea about the functions. Thank you for watching.